What's up guys, it's Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I will be talking about the new Romancing Festival Liam banner that brings back the original protagonist of the second story arc in new styles. It's a 4-character banner, so that means that you have 1% chance of getting off banners. We have all the information on Reddit because Hands43 posted it, comparing to the JP counterparts. They have all the 2 videos here as well. And Liam got super buffed. Yes, you can see that he got a buff to dexterity and endurance that was pretty bad. Now it's just 122 dexterity, very high volley. And he does have okay will, nothing really bad, and still has some intelligence because he can inherit the buff attacks, and he even has one. Now, when he is attacked, damage is now reduced by 30%, so 1 damage reduction passive. Also, by the end of a turn, he will recover around 250 and clear all status ailments and debuffs applied on himself. I do believe that he's now a robot for all that matters, since robots have this type of passive as well. And now, when he is killed once, he will revive with 50% of his HP. Then on turn begins, he will recover his own HP as well. So 1 recover on the start, 1 recover on the end. And will buff dexterity and will by 15% of all allies, and also recover his own BP by 2. Now, what? Dexterity and will by 15% for all allies? That's gonna be very good for Remembrance. Not just Remembrance. Now that you are buffing will with your attacker, it's now becoming a hybrid type of damage dealer that is also support. So Liam always gets some good buffs in global, and this one is game changing because will buffs are always important. And he also recovers 2 BP by the end of a turn, so he's a 5 BP per turn character that always has enough BP to load his bullets, well, save for one that we were discussing in a few. Then his attack increases by 30%, and he has 25% chance to evade all the time. So only 30% damage increase. It's a little less than his past style. That one has 60% damage increase, but that's okay based on what he can offer. Well, skill number 1 is an 8-power single target blunt attack that is critical to humans and can instant kill. Well, this can be used for Siegfried if you don't have any other instant killer. But then the second one is a triple S power attack with 9 BP cost only. Pretty okay. That grants guard up medium to himself for 3 turns. This can be used as inheritance to his past style. Sometimes you may prefer to increase your resistance than to actually do more damage. Depends on the fights. And 9 BP means that on average, if you are just thinking about this, you could use it every 2 turns after you load his bullets. Skill number 3 was heavily buffed here in global. In JP was a 17 BP that grants himself this follow-up called anti-material shot. And what is that? Well, that's the 3 OS attack that can debuff endurance by 30%. With a chance, of course. His intelligence is not the greatest one ever, but it will sometimes work. But granting this as a chase forever. Most chases that we have in the game are of 8 power. So this is very powerful. Triple S chains attacks every time that he attacks. You can even use a normal attack and you still get some good damage. But now, he has anti-material shot. He can inherit stuff from his past styles, like the ice bullet from the 3rd. Has a chance to give damage block. But, well, you'll be losing that extra chances of getting BP. You just have to accept that this style here has a little less damage potential at first, but once you load all bullets, you will be just doing similar or even higher damage. You lose 1 damage passive, but you get an extra attack that you need to spend more turns charging. That's right, you have to load this bullet and then load all the other 5 bullets if you want, so you're gonna have to spend 6 turns to prepare Liam. Or you can just attack after you want, because just having this guaranteed triple S attack would be nice. And don't forget that you will have that dexterity and will buff to your party that can be useful in some fights. So even if he's not doing much, he's helping the party. But you can just cross-inherit that anti-material shot, give it to 3rd Liam. 3rd Liam will not be buffing the party, but he will do even more damage than this one. So it's a trade-off, but it's good to have options. If you have Liam as one of your main damage dealers, he now has a different type of cycle for boss fights that helps the party. Really strong unit. And this one receives an OP grade, as Leons are always useful, but you do need another inheritance to make him as good. He can be from the first style, second or third. As long as he has another bullet, he will be very strong. Just remember that Leon is a character that takes time to prepare. Moving on, we have Anya, and they buffed her endurance and dexterity. You can see that they had very low endurance for current standards. She isn't hybrid, so she still has lots of intelligence, very good agility, and just average love and charisma. At least the will value is good enough, and she has bonus as well. She is a damage dealer, that's right, with some effects. For example, she starts the fight with 13 BP, and round begins, she will buff all status of everyone by 15%, so that you can actually use her like the first time is used to increase damage for the party. And then when she attacks, she will buff STR, dexterity, and intelligence for all allies by just 5%. That's right, just 5 is not great. At least it's all the 3 offensive status, save for agility for martial arts, so she can actually be used in synergy with many characters. But now, when she uses any type of attack or spell, she will always chases with Great Fall. And Great Fall is a A-power attack that deals both pierce and stun damage. Because you are following up, you will still be buffing again. So it's actually 10% buff to STR, dexterity, and intelligence. Not that bad when you look on this way. Then the second passive was heavily changed. As you can see, she attacks and recovers 1 BP. That means that she gets at least 5, since she will always chase. Then when she uses a skill R, rapier attacks, she will grant herself this attack boost that increases damage potential by 15%, lasts for 3 turns, and stacks. She will always trigger this via her Great Fall. And will also increase endurance of our allies by 15%. So it will always happen, the endurance part will always land. But then, if you attack with spells, she will grant herself a defense boost that increases damage taken by 15%, lasts for 3 turns, and stacks. So here is when you want to use her as a buff breaker and use a Toildar versus the enemy. Remember that it removes all buffs applied and also applies attack down. And it's a very good attack to use. She will actually get 5 EP per turn, that skill is 6. You can keep using that every turn to remove buffs from the enemies, always increase her damage output by buffing, and also chase with Great Fall, while giving your party endurance and even will, because that's right, when she uses spells, she buffs will as well by 15%. So let's say what we get here. You get 10% STR, dexterity, and intelligence. You always get endurance by 15% to the party. And if you want another extra endurance, you can get as much as 30 if you use a rapier attack. Or you can get 15% endurance plus 15% will by use of a spell first and then Great Fall as a chase. So it has a lot of different effects, something that will scale well, and a lot of these things are done passively. You don't even need to, well, use pricey skills. That's kind of the future of the next meta phase. Now, she still has a 30% damage increase at all times and 30% damage reduction at all times as well. Skill number 1 is a D-Power Sun attack. That is a spell, so she will trigger that will buff. And before she attacks, she grants herself morale up for 2 turns and then attack. Well, for 1 BP, it's very good. It's something that you will always have available. Then the second one is a 10 BP AoE power attack. That's sun-based as well. Again, a spell that is critical to Undead and Demon. You should be using this when you have many enemies. People can try to use this for, I don't know, farming, but that's not the best attack from the character. Then we have a 13 BP attack with E power. That is both Pierce and Sun, and attacks randomly 5 times. This will not trigger 5 buffs, sadly. It's just like Left Fork. Left Fork is just a slash. This one is Pierce and Sun. Sadly, she didn't get that status buff that Mirza has. Imagine buffing intelligence or dexterity or even both 5 times. That would be awesome. But this one is based on dexterity, so look, she does have very good dexterity. Damage will be nice after you stack something. You can just use skill number 1 to grant your morale up, and then skill number 3, and then keep with skill number 1 if you want to use the character as she is. But many people will be using a Toyodar, because a Toyodar is very useful to decrease damage taken and stop bosses that keeps buffing themselves. I do believe she's better if you have a Toyodar from her first style, because that is a good skill for the future, always was, will always be. But if you don't, as she is, she's still good enough by buffing status for the party, but inferior to Brazen. Brazen is an OP grade tier because he buffs Will by extremely large amounts. He can also heal the party. She is very similar to him, but for now I'll give her a triple S grade. We'll be observing how well she fares in future challenges. I can say that she's a very good style that gets super close to an OP grade. Then we have Candy, and they only buff in agility, that's it. But he is a character with low endurance again, just okay. Will does have some okay intelligence, but very low volumes for a character that wants to debuff, and he can via inheritance. Then, on round begins, he grants himself an attack boost. That increases damage by 50% only for that turn. And by the end of a turn, if no damage is taken, recovers 4 BP. And then, fired up 7 to increase damage by 40. So a total of 90%, and he just wants to do damage and be a farmer. Yeah, finally, Candy is a farmer. Now, skill number 1 is an 8 power attack that buffs Will of all allies by 25% on max level. This is actually made so that you can inherit this into some of his older styles, because he doesn't have damage reduction. He's gonna die super easily. Then the second skill is a Row, double S power attack with APP that has Blunt and Pierce. You can use this for farming in some events. He may or may not solo depending. But on story, he can use this 3 times in a row with ease. And since he's a martial arts style, you need to use the Dragon Stance EX formation. Then the third one is a 9 BP attack with triple S power. This time it's Blunt and Pierce, and it stuns the target with medium chance. That again would not be so easy to land. You could use this for Kazinsi, for example, or some challenges where you need to stun. But that's it. It's a just okay attack. It's just that he has double element. But this guy is used for just 1 turn damage. He also cannot use this attack 3 times in a row because he lacks 1 BP. So I don't understand why they gave this such a thing. It's a character that just works for farming, nothing else, nothing really crazy. This skill number 1 is nice if you have some other versions of Candy, if you want to buff Will. But totally passable, very low volley, and will receive only SS grade in the tier list. Moving on, we have Darius, and they buffed his STR because he was very bad, only 92, now he's 117. Good enough in my opinion, because he has good endurance and Will as well. Does not take too much damage. And does have some okay agility as well, since he's a buffer. Now, for passive, the first one, he buffs STR and dexterity of all allies by 15% on the start of turn, before they can even attack. That's actually pretty awesome. He also gets 2 BP by the end of a turn. Then the second one, on the start of battle, he grants himself this first attack stance for 1 turn. So his first attack will always go fast. That's so that you want to buff the party even further. You will go first, but that's it, nothing else. Then, when all allies are alive, damage increases by 15% for everyone. Then he has intrinsic X4, that means that increases damage by 20%. He also reduces damage taken by 40% when he resists, and also has 37% chance to evade resist attacks. Now for skills, the first one is a 5 VP slash attack with 8 power that buffs STR and dexterity for all allies by 30% on max level. So it does damage and still buffs, it's full offensive, and if you compare, you actually be getting 30% from a skill and 15% from passive, and since you will always go first on the first turn, 45% STR and dexterity buff before anyone can even attack. So, very good, especially for remembrance if you want to go for a nuke road. The second skill is a 10 BP attack with triple S power. This time it's a Slash and Shadow. Can only be used once in battle. Before he attacks, he grants heat up of a large effect to all allies. That will increase their damage potential by 15% for the whole fight. Then he attacks with triple S power. And after he attacks, he grants himself this defense up that decreases damage taken by 20% for the whole fight, so that will make him much better to survive long fights. Then the third one is a 10 BP AoE attack with 8 power, just slash damage, that before he attacks, he grants this morale up extreme for 1 turn for all allies, and then he attacks, including himself. So this A power attack will feel more in line like S power attack. He can use this on turn 1 and then again on turn 3, but it's AoE. For Remembrance sometimes it's useful, for example Death Master, but for Rio Queen. But I would prefer a better single target nuke, especially because this guy here has only this one that can only be used once. So, treat him as a buffer. Most buffers now have Scrum Guard, like Nal's daughter in Muse, and even Maria, so they are easier to use to add some other layer of defense. But in Remembrance, we barely have useful Axe units. This guy is gonna rock. You can even open with the defense up, because this will allow him to survive better than keep buffing. And, well, in the end, you can either just use skill number 1 all the way, or just have one turn where you skip one buff so that you have this nuke right before you kill a boss. Good enough, nothing too crazy though. Well, since he's a very, very strong buffer for Axe teams, Darius has something for him. I will be giving him a triple S grade because of the weapon type. If it was not Axe, I will think twice. Now, I really like what they did for this banner. Leon and Anya are very good right now. Well, Leon is even better damage dealer, and now he even gives buffs to the party. It's amazing. And if you have Inheritance, he is one of your best options for damage, while also offering support. Now, Anya can be very good offensively while still applying attack down and buff break if you have Inheritance. Even without it, she's a good damage dealer that buffs the party. And we have here Darius, that is a very good buffer for, well, Remembrance and even some hard fights if you think about it. It's just Candy dragging a banner down a little, but nonetheless, this is good value, especially if you're thinking about getting the next Leon. Having this Inheritance here makes him even stronger, although I could not say that he desperately needs. But I will pull for this banner first before I pull for Julian. But, well, you can decide based on what you're lacking, to be honest. But this is my opinion. What is yours? Please see here on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I see you later on the next video or live stream. Bye.